No matter who you are or where you are, one of the 5 basic needs of survival for a human is shelter. And that is becoming a big problem here in the United States during 2023. It seems like the reality of an everyday American going out and achieving home ownership is just depleting by the day. With where home prices are at right now, coupled with the high interest rates we're seeing, it's just becoming almost just a painful scene to look at for most Americans. Well, the same holds true for right here in New Hampshire, with the New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute actually claiming that we need to add an additional 90,000 housing units by 2040, which is right there showing that we are in a shortage of homes. So in today's video, I'm going to be presenting you with the research and going over why that is and what the solution could be and giving my 2 cents on the matter. So let's dive right in. So as every business, the market depends on 2 things, supply and demand. And with that being said, each market's going to be their own thing because of the supply and demand. So as with real estate, you could be in one town, drive 15 minutes to another town, but because you're in a different town, that real estate market could completely be different than the town you were just in because maybe it's in more demand and has lower supply than the other town you were just in. So right now, the housing market is currently having issues with a shortage of housing. They're having an issue with the shortage of supply. And despite the high interest rates, there's still high demand to actually purchase those houses. Again, because like I stated in the intro, New Hampshire's claiming that they need to add an additional 90,000 units by 2040, meaning right there is a massive indicator. The state's literally saying, hey, we're in a housing shortage. So that is the first problem. And also, as you can see in this graphic right here, that the comparison of September 2022 compared to of September 2023, closed sales are actually down almost 30%, which is crazy. And again, this is a month-to-month comparison, so it's taking the performance of September in 2022 versus September in 2023. Now for the year-to-year comparison, meaning that from January through September, the 2022 to compare to 2023, we're still down closed sales by almost 21%, which is crazy. Now for price range, we're actually going up still because again, we're short on the supply. So the demand is high, meaning people are paying more money. And from both Septembers from 22 to 23, we're actually up 11% in price to just last month. The median sales price in New Hampshire was $490,000, which is crazy. And the year-over-year price increase is still at 5.2% year-over-year, meaning houses are still going up in value. Not to mention in this same period of time, and this is actually from June 2022 to June 2023, wages across the United States have only went up 4.6%, which I will touch on later in this video. So you might be asking yourself right now, well, if lending is at such high interest rates, how is there still so much demand in the actual housing market? And the answer is, again, a shortage of supply. And of course, we're short supply in all areas, and that's why New Hampshire needs to add housing, but we're also short in supply of the market because nobody wants to leave their house right now. Because of these high interest rates, people who got locked in lower interest rates, really anything below 7.5%, 8%, which a lot of houses have, they don't see any justification in actually selling their house and moving. So they're just staying put, meaning not enough homes are going on the market for the new people to go and buy because nobody's leaving their old house because they have such a good interest rate. So for a second, put yourself in their shoes. If you're a homeowner and you have a mortgage rate of say 3%, well, if you're going to be selling your house, what's the reason? Most of the time people sell their house to upgrade or move for jobs, but a lot of times if they're staying in the same area is to upgrade. So that means you're going to be looking at a higher price range and you're already going to be making your cost of living go higher because you're going to be looking at a higher rate. So people are like, yes, I want a bigger house, but I'm locked in this rate because if I sell this, yes, I'm going to benefit on the sale because I'm going to be able to sell at a higher price because of the inflation of prices right now, but they're going to get hit when they go to buy because now they're going to have to be competing in today's market where you're still going to be paying high because, again, the demand is there and the supply is not. So they're really looking in their head, well, do I take a 3% interest rate? Yes, I'm going to make some more money on the sale of my home, but I'm going to have to pay more money to get into a new home, and I'm trading out a 3% interest rate mortgage for 7.5 to 8%. Do I really want to do that? So therefore, people are just staying stuck. They're just not moving. And that is one of the biggest reasons why we have this huge shortage. And trust me when I say I have a lot of experience in this. Being a real estate agent, of course, part of my job is working with buyers. And I've had great buyers who are in awesome positions in a normal market, meaning that they're conventional buyers, which is, if for some of you that don't know it, a conventional loan is one of the best loans you can get because it's pretty lenient and it's not as restrictive as like an FHA loan. So they have a good loan product. In a lot of cases, my buyers were actually willing to waive inspections or at least have home inspections, but have them for only personal reasons, meaning I kind of want to know what I'm buying, so I want to see what the history is and see what's wrong with the house. And even with that, they were just getting outbid or just completely getting outed by the market because it was either theirs wasn't good enough because it was still conventional and it was a loan and it wasn't cash, or they were just getting outed because it was going too high and over budget. And it wasn't like they were looking at homes that were outside of their budget, but say they have a $350,000 budget. They were looking at homes at like $340,000, $330,000, but again, they were just getting outbid and they couldn't go any higher, or at least couldn't feel comfortable going any higher with certain houses, or even if they wanted to go above that $350,000 mark, they just couldn't afford it. So they were just getting outed, which is tough to see, seeing this with these buyers, because you can feel how frustrated they are, because $350,000 is a good budget for a house and you should be able to find something. And I also, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I also want to point out that I feel like too many people are getting caught in the comparison of wages and what they're getting paid to the price of homes and why they're so high right now. Of course, with wages, what they are right now, it's becoming harder and harder to go afford that house today because they're so high. But increasing wages aren't going to fix anything in the housing market. And the reason being is because if you start paying people more, they're just going to pay even more for the house. It's like Parkinson's law. If you don't know what that is, it's basically saying a task will take as long as the time allotted for it. So if you give someone 2 hours to write an essay, well, chances are they're going to finish the essay in 2 hours. If you give them 2 weeks to do that essay, chances are they're going to be banging it out the night before it's due, because that's just how it works. So if you start giving people more money at work, well, guess what? Now they're going to be just paying more money for a house because now they can afford more of a house. So wages aren't necessarily going to fix anything on that side. But I just want to throw this in here because I feel like so many Americans are thinking they're not getting paid enough, so they can't go buy the house. And of course, there's other factors of inflation with cost of living that are affecting wages. But I just wanted to bring into it that the wages aren't really affecting anything to do with the housing market. It's simply the supply and demand problem. So before I begin talking about a solution, I just want to put this right up there in front of you guys, and of course you know it. I am simply a real estate agent that researched this topic, and I'm just making a video. I don't actually know what the solution is. I wish I did, but I'm going to show you what could be the solution and kind of my 2 cents on the matter. So first off, the people at the state and town levels really need to change the building laws and regulations, because some of them are just crazy. Like, I know, again, I'm not a professional or actually great in this area, but I do know a little bit about it. And I know in like a lot of the city areas, you need a ½ acre minimum to be able to build a house. But yet in the rural areas, more kind of in the country settings, you need some places to have a 3-acre minimum or a 5-acre minimum just to build a house, which is of course tough because yes, you don't want to like build right on top of each other, especially out here in New Hampshire, because people like their space. But some of that's just a little crazy. Needing 5 acres to build a house just seems a little bit absurd. And in New Hampshire's state budget for 2024-2025, they're actually allocating $60 million to help with the housing shortage and the homelessness problem here in New Hampshire, which is more than they did for the 2022 to 2023 period, where they allocated only $38 million. So they are putting an increase in that, and hopefully that'll help some things here in New Hampshire. And now this last one that I want to bring up is completely crazy idea, and I get it. I don't want it to happen, but I'm just saying it could be a solution, because again, a lot of these problems are because people have such a good rate, they don't want to leave. So a good problem Or a good solution I found to this could be getting rid of fixed rate mortgages and just going to variable rate mortgages, because then people wouldn't be feeling like they're in a jail and not wanting to leave because they have such a good interest rate. They don't want to leave that despite wanting to leave the house and go get a new house. Because if you had variable rate mortgages all the time, well, then you're just comparing the price differences between the upgrade. So say like, because they have a $350,000 house with a 3% interest rate on their mortgage. So going from that to a $500,000 house with a 3% interest rate on the mortgage is already going to be increasing that cost of living. But chances are the reason they're looking to do that is because they're just moving forward in life, making more money and wanting to upgrade, having more kids, so be it. But when you're going from a $350,000 house with a 3% interest rate on the mortgage to a $500,000 house with an 8% interest rate on the mortgage, now that 5% additional interest rate is really what is killing a lot of these people when they go to make that upgrade, because it's just not justifiable to be able to take that big of a hit just to go get a bigger house, where you could just kind of, what most people are doing, waiting it out and just seeing what happens down the road. So that is everything I wanted to show for this video, and I hope it gave you a little bit of a good grasp on what's happening here in New Hampshire with the housing shortage, because there is a big shortage, and a big reason of that shortage is, yes, we need more physical housing units added to the state of New Hampshire, and that is what the state is claiming. But the real estate market in New Hampshire is the biggest problem right now, is people aren't selling because, again, they're stuck. Well, not stuck, but they're in those low interest rate loans that they just don't justify getting rid of to go upgrade, to go pay for an inflated price of the house right now and to get an inflated interest rate. They're just like, I'm just going to stay put. Yeah, I would like a new house, but I don't need a new house. So that is one of the biggest reasons why we're having this issue. If rates start coming down, you're going to see more homes go on the market, and you're going to see even more buyer demand, which means, yes, rates are going to go down, but most likely prices will shoot even higher. So it's one of those things where we're kind of walking a tightrope on that one. But let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. See if you have any different readings on the real estate market, maybe where you're from. It's a whole different scene. Of course, this video was really meant just for New Hampshire, but if it added any value or learned something new, I'd love a like and subscribe on the video, and I will catch you guys next week.